The Wood Whisperer is sponsored by Typebond.
So today I've got another round of community shop tours for you, and this one we're calling Inspiring. Now for me, I get inspired when I see these spaces because they have a good complement of tools, great organization, and clever solutions to common problems that we have in shop spaces. The other thing that they tend to have is decorations. Now, as goofy as that is and simple as it is, for me, my shop space is a refuge. You know, life can be stressful, so it's nice to have a space that you can go to relax, do your creative things, whatever it is that you do, and a good-looking shop space to me is a thing of beauty. So that's why I'm really inspired by these particular people. So let's kick it off today by going to Diane's shop in sunny Florida. Usually it's actually raining, at least the times that I've been there.
Hi Mark, my name is Diane and I'd like to take you on a tour of my shop. I'm a woodworker here in Florida and I have a dedicated 3-car garage that is my happy place. And let me just take you on a tour of it real quick so that we could get to each of the walls. They say you can't have enough clamps. Well, that's true. This is wall 1 of 2 that I have of my clamps. This is primarily the C-clamps and the super long 10-foot Bessies that I have. My dedicated thinking center, I've got computer access, obviously, all magazines that I have ordered over my 32 plus year career in woodworking, and my slop sink, my cabinet that I have affectionately named Big Red, houses all of my hand tools, everything that I opted not to put on the wall, screwdrivers and pliers and hammers and drill bits and planes and everything else, all in here if it's not on the wall. The walls are primarily my chisels and my woodpecker tools. I have opted to put them all out on display as opposed to in the drawers. I keep my drills on top of the last bank of Big Red. My lathe is a DL40. It's got a 40-inch bed, which is one of the longest in the industry. And you're going to hear me say workhorse a whole lot because I have got these workhorse old tools. And this is absolutely a beast. It does what you need it to do and it don't play. So really like my lathe. Picked this one up here the other day, a Grizzly spindle sander, which I'm real fond of. I never owned a Grizzly tool before. I think it's going to do real well for me. A Rikon slow speed bench grinder. I've got a Powermatic drill press. This is my Powermatic jointer, one of the very first tools I've had. This is a jet oscillating belt sander, which is a very cool tool. It makes short work of edges for you. Shifting on over here, this is my Powermatic 15-inch helical head planer, which I love to bits. And this is a bench of stationary sanding tools that I utilize and a hollow chisel mortiser. Probably the most important tool in the shop right there. my mini split that's set at 66 because it's about 1,066 outside right now. Holy smokes, it's been very hot. In the corner, I've got 2 Craig setups for the router tables, both outfitted with the Triton 3 and a 1/4 horsepower routers underneath. I have got a DeWalt sliding miter saw for the larger capacity or larger thickness woods that I need to cut. In the corner there, I've got my Performax 1632, 2 little expandable roller tables for outfeed, which are wonderful. Right there is my current stock that I'm working with, maple and black walnut. I built a little moving cart so that I will load the wood that I'm going to use for a particular project onto the cart. Once it's finished, it gets moved back into what I call a wood lab, and the next batch of wood comes out, and this way I'm using only what I'm building with, and then I remove it back and put it back into the wood lab. This is my jet, 18-inch with a dedicated dust collector on it from Harbor Freight. Right here I've got a moldy oldie, but I love this beast. This is a 10-inch table saw from good old Craftsman and Workhorse. This is one of the oldest tools I own. Solid cast iron on both the sides of it, and you just don't get that anymore. You just don't get it. And I will ultimately get a saw stop, but I just can't get myself to do it right now. I love that thing. Let's move around. This bank of drawers contains my router bits. I have lots of router bits. What I have here is storage. Screws, bolts, nuts, all sorted out like an insane person that I am, and got everything you can possibly need sorted, and it makes it a lot easier when you need to find something. You can just go to it and get it. Got some tools up there that people may or may not like, but I am very, very fond of the brand. There's my little miter saw built into this little miter station. It's a 10-inch, but the capacity, because of it's not sliding, doesn't allow me to get the big pieces that I need to do. This right here is a old school locker that I was able to pick up for absolutely nothing, that I keep all of my flammables in. So it's really very, very, very helpful, and yeah, I like it a lot. And here finally is the second wall of clamps. I've got quite a few of them, but still probably not enough. There's my birthday present, which if you have an opportunity to try one of them on, it's pretty darn cool. It blows fresh air over your head and prevents you from inhaling all that nasty dust. And whatever you do, you just need to make sure you wear some kind of a protection. But that's about it. We've gone full circle here. I've got my Joburg's workbenches. This is the Elite edition, and these are really nice benches, and they surprised me this year and bought me a second one, which really blew my mind, but I absolutely was thankful, because they are wonderful, wonderful benches. And finally, let me just show you what I'm working on right now. I do a lot of reproduction work and Queen Anne work, but right now I am working on a serpentine front chest, and you can see I've got 3 different trees going on there, so I need to decide what I'm going to do, whether or not I'm going to keep it all crazy in 3 different tones, or make it one solid darker color. I really don't like putting color on wood. I always like it natural, but I have to decide. That's pretty wild grain. I've not seen grain nearly as wild as that before, but it's awful pretty. And the top is I call it the feather and flame, because you can see the feathering on the top coming into what looks like a flame, to me anyway. Really what I want to say, Mark, is thank you for the opportunity for me to show off my shop and for you to listen. I'd be more than happy to open up any drawers, answer any questions you have, but mostly I just want to thank you for what you do for woodworking, and thank you for putting yourself out there, and thank you for this opportunity. Bye-bye.
Now, Diane's shop is still a 3-car garage, but it's so well finished, especially with that tongue and groove pine on the walls. As the camera was kind of panning around, I would catch a glimpse of a garage door and kind of be taken out of the spell, because I really was transported to another space. My brain didn't think we were still in a garage. So great job there, Diane. Thank you so much for sending it. It was awesome spending a few minutes in your shop with you.
Hi there, Wood Whisperer community. My name is Paul Engel. I'm based in Coralville, Iowa. We moved here a couple of years ago, and I'll show you one of the highlights that made this shop possible. One of the things that I really like about the shop is the tall ceilings. It allows me to display some pretty neat art, including some woodwork that my grandfather made back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. I'm inspired by his work. He passed away before I was born, but I continue to be impressed with what he was able to do with limited tools and the onset of Parkinson's disease. That's one of my favorites. Another is the ability to have the TV here. I can tune into the Wood Whisperer channel and get play-by-play instructions and follow along. Love the saw stop. Just added the router table here recently, and that's really streamlined my shop. I'm always worried about getting the most out of my space, so having a separate router table was kind of tough. I really take advantage of these cabinets. I've got everything binned up with labels on them. I use the magnetic whiteboards for my order of operations so that I don't make mistakes by trying to do everything by memory. Everything in my shop is labeled, so I don't have to guess at where anything is. One of my first shop builds was this rolling cart, just upgraded to the Capex. Really like my dust collection. I've got the dual hoses there, so that allows me to have a number of things plugged in at the same time. The flow is variable. Everything's on rollers, so I can move everything around. I've got all my surfacing equipment and milling equipment right there in the middle, my saw stop at the end, close to the exterior doors, and I can arrange the workflow any way I want as I just take whatever tools I need and roll them out into this open space and work with them. So if I need to rip long boards, I just pull the Laguna out. If I need to do a bunch of drilling, I can just pull that out. I've got a little step that I built into it. So there's the story. My wife called from Iowa and said I found a house with an indoor basketball court. She was thinking how much the grandkids would like it, one of whom just graduated college. And I was thinking, yeah, that's gonna make a great shop. So it's been up like that ever since we moved in here. Real proud of the Rubo. That was first major build before I really should have done it. And it just came out really great. So this is the newest addition. This is my first bespoke design and build. I wasn't taking advantage of all this space. I just had a single layer of things on the shelves. This allowed me to use drawers. All those bins are labeled and cataloged with all my fasteners and things like that. I did a little shop build and of course the Wood Whisperer MFT cart. And there we go from this side. So I absolutely love my shop. Every time I walk in here, I just get a real nice feeling.
The biggest standout to me with Paul's shop is that it's not necessarily small, but he still has everything on mobile bases. So I'm currently really struggling thinking about where tools go. But how great is it to have everything mobile so that you just bring it out as you need it, connect it, turn it off when you're done, and put it back in its home. That's a great system. Thanks for sending in your tour, Paul.
Hey, the Wood Whisperer asked for a shop tour. So I'm here in my shop holding some wood, whispering, this is my garage. And that over there is my tiny 7-foot by 20-foot shop that I cram a bunch of tools into. I'm gonna show you how I do. Hang on, there's something on that lens here. Hang on a second. I think I got it. Can I stop whispering? Here's my shop. Let me show you around. Here's the base of my shop. We have this 8 by 20 foot bump out that's attached to my garage. The goal was to kind of store all my tools in here, but also have a place where I could do some work if I wanted to be able to just walk in. And so I started with these base cabinets that I got off of Ron Paulk. I bought his design. These are meant to go in a trailer. They have these locks on them, but if you lift, the drawer slides come out. What I loved about these is there's no hardware. The bottom is also the slides in your handles right here, and all of these are interchangeable. Above that, I bought some plans from Fix This, Build That, my finishing supplies, fasteners, my graffiti equipment, and some other stuff. This iteration of my shop, I just went with plywood on the back and had a lot of fun building custom tool holders for things that I use often. I got all these off of Pinterest or YouTube. This was a hot mess a year ago. There was just stuff everywhere, and I debated on putting metal shelving in this area. Instead, I found this video on YouTube. I don't even know who it was, but they had taken 2x4s, ripped them in half, and screwed them onto the studs to bring the studs out to the other side of the sheetrock. Then you make these little clamps, shelves that kind of clamp on. You're able to maximize every square inch of your wall. I'm able to keep my chemicals up there out of reach from my kids and long-term storage. Also having a sink in your shop, big deal. Automatic soap and paper dispensers are great. I always had this crappy drill press sitting on the floor and I never used it, but I built this cart from an April Wilkerson plan, and ever since I did, I use this thing all the time now because it's so convenient, and most importantly, it's not sitting on top of my workbench taking up space because we're in Texas and have mosquitoes. On this side, it's kind of a hot mess. I've got my clamps, this really noisy planer that's okay, but I wish I had a better one. Wood, I can't bring myself to throw away. And then a Harbor Freight dust extractor that I've hacked out. I like this table saw. I got it for 500 bucks back in the day. Now they're almost double that. You can wire it to 220, which is cool, but the fence is the Achilles heel on this thing. I've got my 6-inch Grizzly Jointer Polar Bear series, whatever that means. This is really cool. Basically, these legs fold up and this top folds down so I can pull my car in, but I'm able to still have a little bit of outfeed, and most importantly, all the scraps I don't want to throw away, I can hide in here and never touch. Sometimes I park my X-Carve right here. I think this is called Tark's design. It's a rolling cabinet that folds down, and I'll show you in a minute how I put all the stuff up. So when I want to do CNC work, I can roll it out, flip it up, put my laptop on here, and go to town. Hardwoods I can't seem to throw away. But this cart is from April Wilkerson again. What I love is these wings fold out, and when you're done, you can just lift up, knock this thing down and roll it away. This is one of the hardest builds I've ever done. It's a Ron Paulk Smart Workbench. This is the 3x6 size, and this is a game changer when I'm doing a project. I can set this up. It's light enough that I can actually pick it up by myself. It sits on these sawhorses. I can store lumber or my track saw down there, and my tools can live on this level while my workpiece stays on here. Here's my obligatory router table that I made out of some scraps. Who doesn't love a track saw? This one is Mark's fault. I have a Festool CT MIDI with a Cyclone with a sander, and I got it after watching Mark's videos. So I'm not gonna let my wife watch this video because she's wondering who talked me into spending $1,000 on this, and it was the Wood Whisperer. Do you know the name of this? Elsie the Cow, because my last shop was in the old Borden milk plant in downtown San Antonio on the Riverwalk. True story. This is from, I think, the 50s, and they were gonna throw it away, and I rescued it out of the trash, and I wanna hang it in here somewhere to remember my first real big shop before this one. I love Gorilla carts, and so I store them on the ceiling and never use them again. Well, there you have it. Let me show you how I put all this stuff away. Alexa, turn the hair light off. Thanks for watching.
Drew's got really nice tool holders, a bunch of things that he's built to accessorize the various tools in the shop. And maybe the coolest thing is the fact that everything can kind of tuck away at the end of the day. He still has access to the entire garage. But I ask you, Drew, for what? What is so important that you're doing in that garage that you can't leave your tools out?
Hi Mark, I'm John. I'm a hobbyist woodworker in Arizona. I'd like to show you a few things in my shop. An hour after I brought this tower of steel home, my days of tripping over a pile of clamps were a thing of the past. I can roll this baby up to my bench during glue-ups and peel clamps off like it's an Olympic sport. I had grand plans for organizing tools in these drawers, but the boss said, other priorities are calling your name, John. Rockler released a lot of cool accessories for this rack after I configured mine. I like my rack, but if I had to start over, I'd probably do it with Rockler's accessories instead. I had cabinets like this in my last garage, so when I started working in this shop, I really missed having quick and easy access to the tools and supplies I used most. Admittedly, this design only works when your personal height and the ceiling are compatible. Mine are located near the bench and in the middle of the shop. They're really useful for clearing the bench fast without sacrificing quick and easy access to the tools. I have a low ceiling and I took advantage of it. As you can see, I mounted my pipe to the ceiling using hooks and hose clamps. It was so simple, I thought I must have done something wrong. My draft ducting plan looks something like this. The more I thought about it, the more I didn't like the 90-degree transitions, so I came up with this layout instead. The main trunk coming from the collector runs at 45 degrees to the middle of the room. All of the branches are also 45 degrees, which I believe offers the best airflow. After ducting is installed, it can be a real pain to add a new branch later. I attempted to guess where I might want to add or extend pipe in the future. Then I capped off endpoints so I could easily add new pipe. I also wanted an easy way to clean up around my tool stations. I added 2¼ blast gates at several tools so I can attach a shop vac hose and clean up. I also made a custom floor sweep so I can sweep the floor and suck it up. This is my lathe station. Most of the things I need are not more than one step away. I have a small lathe because I make small things. I love making pens, but people started looking at me weird. I guess it is odd to have a couple hundred pens laying around the house, but what am I supposed to do with them? I hang my chisels with broom handle holders. When I first started using them, I was worried that a chisel might fall and get damaged, so I did what every other woodworker would do. I made a chisel catcher. I haven't dropped a chisel yet, but it's nice to have a safety net if I do. People sometimes ask why I bolted a cabinet to the back of my toolbox. I mean, why not? It's a perfect place to store screws, miscellaneous hardware, and rattle cans of paint and finish. But it only works if you can position your toolbox so you have access to both sides. If you can, it's a great place to store things for quick access. I love my little CNC machine, but when its water-cooled spindle fires up, it sounds eerily like a dentist drill. My CNC base consists of these 4 cabinets. The water-cooled reservoir for the spindle is isolated from the electronics and the electrical cords. The electronic components need good airflow when the machine is running. They also need to be protected from dust when it's not. I think router bits are like a woodworker's jewelry. It's fun to open the drawers and show them off, even when people don't know exactly what they are. I use the handheld controller most of the time, but sometimes I have to connect my laptop directly. Thankfully, there's a shelf for that. Last and least important is a cabinet for storing scrap panels, spoil boards, and other parts. In my shop, it used to be like an Easter egg hunt to find things like finishing and electrical supplies, tools, tape, and special hardware. After years of juggling bins, I finally got around to labeling them. Isn't that what old people do? And while I was still motivated to organize, I made a cart for storing things like T-track, doweling, long scraps, templates, jigs, magazines, and other stuff. It's so fast and easy to find things now, I finally have time for my wife. At least that's what she said. Well, Mark, thanks for inviting me to share my shop. I hope there's at least one idea that's useful to someone. Keep up the good work. Good luck with your new shop. I'll be watching.
Well, first off, John has a great, fun announcer voice. It was just a pleasure listening to that tour. And of course, seeing all the things John has in his space. Really clever solutions, add-ons to things that I would have never thought about, like the little add-on shelf on the back of a tool cart. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, John, for sending in your tour.
Hi, my name is Jeff Anderson. I'm the owner of Qwyx Craft, which is just the name for my hobby / business, retirement business someday. And welcome to my shop. When we built the home, we wanted a 3-car garage, and so we built it deeper rather than wider. But it is still a garage. Where I'm standing right now is where my wife's car goes. But getting into the shop, let's talk about the central nervous system. The spine, so to speak, is my Clearview and Nordfab ducting system for my dust collector. You can see my first drop here is for a Grizzly jointer planer, and then I've also got a station for a shop vac. The second station over here is for the table saw, band saw, and router table. And then there's a final drop out there for a miter box station. I haven't built the box yet, and you'll see that's kind of a theme for a few things we'll see here in the shop. They are unfinished, but it's always good to have something next to do, is my philosophy. You can see here I've got the Wood Whisperer's plywood cart to store all my plywood and sheet goods. I figured that was a really good fit here for this space. Got your traditional clamp wall and some wood storage up above. Clamp wall sitting right across from the assembly outfeed table. Again, this is a Wood Whisperer project. I've modified it slightly, made it a little bit wider and deeper. I wanted to make sure I could fit my DeWalt scroll saw in there and a few other items. In this corner, I've got shop sink and a first aid station, which I unfortunately had to use this morning, but don't tell my wife. Over here, we've got the miter station, which is a guild project in the Wood Whisperer Guild. And I've built upper cabinets that match the lower cabinets. Coming down this way, I've got my drill press and then my sander station. This is a project I got from Fisher's shop, a flip top station with integrated power. Over here, I've got some nice natural light coming through the window and the door. Up above, the most important piece of equipment in the shop, at least here in Dallas. It's 102 today, but this nice Lennox mini split makes it a cool 75 with thanks to insulation all around the shop. One of my recent projects was to get all my hand tools up on a tool wall. And then if you pan below, you'll see my greatest shame. I've had the slabs for my split top Rubo glued up and the vise in it for probably 3 or 4 years now, but still no legs. And I still feel horrible about that. But I do have all the leg pieces sitting here on top of the planer, and I will get to it someday, hopefully soon. A few other projects have jumped in front because I get Christmas gifts, like this great lathe my wife got me for Christmas. She and I got into turning. We turned some pens, we've turned some bowls. Probably what I'm most proud of recently is this road case for going to craft fairs. Got a table as the lid, and then a mini lathe down below to turn pens and go to craft fairs. Well, that's kind of it for my shop. Thanks for watching.
Well, Jeff's shop, got to tell you, I felt right at home. Not only has he built some of my shop projects, but just like the T111 on the walls with the tools hanging out, it just, that really speaks to me. I feel like I could get into his shop and start working right away. So thank you, Jeff, for sending in your tour. So that's all I have for you today. We do have more of these coming in the future, so keep an eye out for future community shop tours. And if shop tours are your thing, not only do I have some of my previous shop tours because I change shops a lot, but I also have a whole archive of community shop tours posted over at thewoodwhisperer.com. It's been there for a while, and it is extensive, my friends. All kinds of shops, different locations, different parts of the world, and different budgets. So it's something you might want to take a look at. We'll put the link in the description for you. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck outfitting your shops, and we'll see you next time.